You're listening to the LDS Sexologist, a podcast devoted to tackling the taboo and finding the connection between spirituality and sexuality. To submit your anonymous questions, click the link in my Instagram bio. Hello everyone and welcome back to the LDS Sexologist. I figured that, the best way to start off a Monday would be with a Q&A to really tackle those burning questions and help you know how to face the rest of your week. So starting off, let's go with this question. I've been married for 1.5 years now and I still haven't tried sex toys. I'm open to it, but how should I go about starting it? Not only introducing the idea to my husband, but also where'd we start as a couple if he's open to it? Do sex toys come with instruction manuals or do we just kind of experiment with them? Is there a good toy to start with if you're new to sex toys? Oh, I am so happy you asked this question because let me just say, you are asking the right person. I have spreadsheets on spreadsheets full of hundreds, over 500 different vibrators, and I'm real nerdy about it. I have all of the different settings, how they market versus how they actually function. I have what they are good for, how they look, how they're designed. I know all the way down to the companies and who owns what patents and who's sued which company over the patents. I just love learning about that. I love learning about new products. I mean, there's thousands on the market from a lot of different, not only retailers, but just brands. And it can get overwhelming. It can get confusing, especially with how they market them. They don't necessarily explain very well how to use them or what they could be used for, and they're quite salacious a lot of the time in their marketing strategies, which all of that is not helpful for the people that I serve, who, as in this case, with people who are completely unfamiliar, who have most likely never used anything before, and a lot of which the people that I'm working with have never masturbated before either. So this is a brand new world that they are stepping into, and it feels a lot like diving into the deep end without knowing how to swim. Overwhelming, scary, you feel like you're gonna drown. You're also like, that doesn't seem like that would be very much fun. So I am here to help you wade in, feel around, see if you like the water. And if you do, you can have a great time. You don't necessarily have to use these by any means, but it can be a tool to help you grow in better connection with your partner. It can also help on a practical level with blood flow, helping get blood flow to all the parts of the clitoris, 18 distinct features of the clitoris. In my other episode, I think my most recent Q&A, I did quite a bit on understanding blood flow, or at least just the functioning of our lower pelvic floor, and because I was addressing questions about vaginismus or G-triple-PD, and anyways, so go listen to that one. But as far as this question goes, yes, you absolutely can use it. Do they come with instruction manuals? A lot of times they do, yes, have instructions in them, although they are not the most helpful. I will be completely honest with you. Again, I have spreadsheets on spreadsheets. I work with these products. I sell them, and I have taken a lot of time, almost 2 years actually, going through hundreds of them to look at the instructions and look at what they do. So, yes, they do have instructions, but to be honest, they're not always that helpful. So let me kind of break this down for you. I have a video that goes through the different categories of vibrators because there's all different types. And not only are there types, there's different brands. And each brand has their thing that they're known for. And someone just walking in off the street isn't going to know any of this information. They're not going to know that Satisfier has a starting speed that is much softer and much lower than Sensual or Inya or Vidu or FemiFun. They're not going to know that FemiFun or Sensual has these turbo modes. They start really high, they go really high. They're not going to know the difference between all the different types of wands and why would you go for a wand rather than going for this other product, and what is the rose? Is it sucking? No, it's not, even though it advertises like it is. It calls itself the sucking rose, when in fact it is air pulse technology, not suction technology, because suction technology is actually its own category. You see the confusion? You see how complicated this is? You have the different brands, the different types, you have the ergonomic designs, you have the ones that are designed to be used with penetration and with a partner, you have the ones that aren't. And we're not just talking, single stimulation. You have ones that are just good for external, meaning like clitoral, or on your labia, just outside of the body. Then you have internal, which those ones are meant to be inserted vaginally. And then you have dual stimulation, which is going to be vaginal and clitoral at the same time. And sometimes you have toys that also have an anal element as well. So many different functions and features. You have them, they turn and they move and they vibrate with a rumble versus a buzzy. All of this information is available to you. Don't worry, girl, I got you. I have made all of this with pictures, non-explicit pictures. I chose very meticulously which images I put onto this PowerPoint in this presentation video that I have, and I go through every single category. That's actually not true. There's hundreds of categories. I went through the most important, 20 categories that are going to be questions you didn't even know you had, but I'm going to answer them anyways because I have done this for years now. I have sold vibrators for years, and I know the differences between all of these different types, so I can help explain that to you. That way, even though you've never used one before, even though you have no idea, you at least know your basic preferences. In the same way that if you go to a new restaurant to eat, obviously you've never been to that restaurant, so you're gonna need to read the menu. You're gonna need a minute to see what type of food this is. But if I were to tell you this is Indian cuisine, or this is, Mexican cuisine or something like that, you at least have a baseline of, oh, I like Mexican food, or I like American food, or Indian food, or whatever it may be, right? So even though you've never been to that restaurant, you at least have some knowledge of your body, of what you like, or what you think you'd like. And that's what that video is for, it's to help you understand your options, and then you can also ask yourself these questions, because I have listed a bunch of questions to start asking yourself. Will hand stimulation bother me? Meaning, if I'm holding it and my hand is right on the motor and my hand is vibrating, for some, doesn't bother them at all. For others, it really takes them out of it. Maybe the noise of it is really going to be a make or break for you, whether or not it's enjoyable. If it's too loud or it makes some weird noise, then maybe that makes it so you can't relax. You're too focused on the noise that it's making rather than what it could be doing to help you feel aroused. So all of those types of questions I go over to ask yourself, what's most important to you? Is it most important that you can use this with your partner at the same time as, penetration? Is that just a bonus if you can, but that's not the main goal? Do you like more surface area to be covered? Do you like things more pinpointed? Lots of different types of questions. And then I go through, if you answered yes to this, or if you like this, then these are the type of products that I would recommend. Now, you can always book a 20-minute consultation with me. I do toy consultations specifically, so you can, if you want an entire demo appointment, you can book that, and I'll meet you at HW Romance Boutique. We schedule a time, and then I go in and you are able to feel all of the vibrators. I'm able to not just do vibrators, but lubes, you're able to feel them all. The flavored lubes you can taste, all of the stuff. I can get everything out of the boxes for you and go through all your different options. Or if you're just wanting basic suggestions, you watch my video about vibrators and you're like, okay, this is the category I like. I want to know my options in this category or in these couple categories. What would you recommend the most? I do 20-minute consultations for $30. So if you really want something customized, otherwise just watch my video and that will at least give you a massive direction to move in. In fact, it will take you down the road very far. And when you get to your destination, you'll actually know where you're going, what you're doing. And I talk about like a couple ways to use them, but let's talk a few ways just now in general about ways that you can use a vibrator. It's more than just like, you take it out and like direct stimulation to your clitoris. Okay, this is something that you can use to help explore each other's bodies. You can turn it on. Let's say it's a bullet, like a small one that's about the length of your finger, has a very high frequency, buzzy vibration. Well, you can take that and you can blindfold someone or just have them close their eyes, and then you trace it along the body. You can go around the breasts. You can go in all the erogenous zones, right behind the ear, in the inner thighs, on the calf as well, down your spine, around your hips. And this is for both people. And then for a spouse, you could do it on the penis shaft around the testicles, holding it on the perineum, which is the space right behind the testicles before the anus, because right above that internally is the prostate, and men can orgasm from their prostate. So holding something on a very high speed, usually it's a little bit better with rumbly vibration, but it can still work with buzzy, especially if there's a lot of pressure. So if you have a little bullet, having him sit on that so it's right on his perineum and vibrating at full speed while you're doing a hand job or a blow job or something like that, it can absolutely change the entire experience. But you can use that as a tool for teasing and to get blood flow and just for fun. Now, on female anatomy, then that's going to be, you can use it up and around the clitoral hood, on the labia, all around the vulva, just everywhere that it feels good and pleasurable. You can also, if the vibration itself is too intense, you can put your fingers where you want the vibration, and then you just put the vibrator on your finger, so it's pulsating through your finger. So it kind of dies down the actual frequency of the vibration because it's coming through something else, or, your partner's finger as well. Like they put their finger where you want it, and then you put the vibrator, or they do, on their own finger. You can also put it behind the tongue for oral, or behind the jaw for oral as well. Lots of different options, and that's just a couple. I mean, it depends on what you're using, because all these different ones, I can give you different ideas for how to use it. But those are just some basic across the board, instead of just like, okay, you just bring this out and like put it right on your clitoris or your clitoral hood. Like, no, you can make this work for you. You can have this be something that's a fun new addition to help you grow your understanding of your own body and the body of your partner, and to experience more pleasure together. So when it comes to introducing this as an idea, I mean, the best way to do it is to just see if they'd be open to it. And I would come into the conversation with general curiosity, and I would say that for both partners, because sometimes what ends up happening with a lot of my clients is, I bring up in one of the sessions that I think a vibrator could be really helpful for them for various reasons. And sometimes you have one partner on board and then the other one completely shuts down the idea. Absolutely and completely, no, I'm not doing that. And that's difficult when that happens, because not only is it disappointing, for the person that's trying to reach out and wants this connection and is making a play for connection to the other person, and then they're just, they hit the ball up and then it's just smacked down rather than volleyed back to them. So that's hard. And those are the kind of moments that a sex therapist is perfect for. That's not so much my job. I mean, I am definitely curious when that happens, of like, tell me why. Why does that elicit such a negative reaction? Now, we'll play devil's advocate. We'll do both scenarios. Okay, let's say it's a male partner that is super wanting a vibrator, super open to it. He presents that to his wife, and he's like, hey, what do you think about getting a vibrator? I think, it might be kind of fun for us, and I think it would kind of help with your blood flow. And she goes, absolutely not. No, I think that's just not normal, and I don't like that at all. So if that's the case, I would then be curious of, okay, then what is normal sex to you? Like, what is the definition of sex in your mind? What does sex look like? What can it look like? What can't it look like? Because just from that answer alone, I'm seeing that there's probably some like very rigid set criteria of what sexual exploration is allowed to look like, and these limits that are set, I would wonder where those have been set. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to change them by any means. I mean, you can, if you're not comfortable with it, you're not comfortable with it, but to immediately shut that idea down without any thought of it being maybe something that could add to your fun and your connection, and this is something your partner is bringing to you as a collaboration, and so for you to just immediately say no and like shut that down, that's not very collaborative with your partner. So that kind of moment and those kind of discussions where one partner is just hard set on it being a no and then the other partner really wants to try it, yeah, that's going to have to be a sex therapist. Like, I can only do so much because I'm here to teach you about the different variety. And you know, sometimes that does help if, okay, well, before you shut me down on it, can I help you understand why I want it? And also why I think that this might be fun for us and what options are available, because maybe they have no idea and they only know of one thing, or they heard of something one time, or, you know, I highly doubt that they understand the range of vibrators, because unless you are someone like me who literally does this for a living and like studies products, I mean, I'm running into new stuff every single day that I've never heard of. Functions that I can't believe exist. I'm like, no stinking way that's real. No way that's an invention. Yeah, if I'm surprised, I guarantee you'd be surprised too. There's lots of different things that they can do. And it's not just for women, and it can be for both partners. So, in the case of men, typically, my most typical scenario of what I see is when it's brought up of, hey, I think it'd be kind of fun and I think it'd be good for us to get a vibrator. A lot of times that is taken as an insult to men. Not all, of course. You know, there's some really great men out there, and it's not to say that your man isn't great if he, you know, has this be a blow to his ego, but that is curious why something that your wife is wanting that could potentially up her desire level and wanting to have sex with you, why that's immediately shut down because, no, it has to only be you and your body. Well, you and your body, biologically, are the least reliable way for a woman to feel pleasure. That's just a fact. Only 18% of women orgasm vaginally. So if we're only leaving it up to vaginal penetrative sex, and he's thinking, you know, it somehow makes him less of a man to involve a vibrator clitorally, well, I would love for you to run an experiment then. And how about the next time that you have sex, for the wife, she only plays with your testicles. That's the only thing that she does, is she only stimulates your testicles. Nothing on the shaft, nothing on the glands, just the testicles. Maybe a little bit of perineum, maybe. You know, she's feeling spicy, but nothing on the shaft. Nothing on the tip. No penetration. Yet tell me how much fun you have. Tell me how great that was. I'm gonna make a guess that you're probably going to orgasm, I don't know, like 18% of the time, if that. Wonder why that is. Maybe it's because material-wise of where the nerves are and where everything is structured to feel good is on your shaft and on your glands. Well, we also have a shaft and we also have a glands, clitorally. It is not located vaginally. The same tissue that's making the vaginal canal makes your testicles. So if that is not, you know, just like fireworks and cannons going off for you, the man in this scenario, then it kind of makes sense why it's not fireworks and, cannons for her vaginally. Because that's not how her anatomy works. We need to work with the anatomy. And when we start understanding how the anatomy works, well, then is there any difference between, using a hand for stimulation on a penis shaft versus a mouth versus a vagina? That seems very widely accepted that those are different types of acceptable sexual behavior, but the introduction of something that is, electronic, that vibrates, is all of a sudden very taboo, very unnormal, unnatural. I would push back on that narrative and idea because, I don't know, is an electric toothbrush unnatural? Is a dishwasher unnatural? Is a electric mixer unnatural in the kitchen? Have you ever made meringue? I use this analogy all the time. Have you ever made meringue hand whipped? Okay, you gotta have some serious wrist strength to do that. You are there for a while. If you are making from scratch a meringue with just a whip, and if you're not an experienced baker, this is not your career job, exhausting. Also, it takes forever. It takes so long to get meringue to have peaks. Are you picking up what I'm putting down with the peaks? I know. It's a killer analogy. What can I say? So when you're whipping meringue and you're trying to get it where it can have those peaks in it, well, you're not just going to eat meringue on your own as well. What are you making the meringue for? You're making it to put in a pie so you can enjoy it together. Does it make you any less of a baker or any less of a chef, or somehow make the dish taste less good, or that it's not as virtuous of a meal because you somehow used an electric mixer? You don't seem to have too many thoughts about that when it comes to other things, where it's if that's a tool that can help make it faster and make it better and make it so we can both eat the pie faster, well then heck yeah, turn on the electric mixer. We don't seem to have any sort of issue with that, right? That seems ridiculous to say no, you must hand mix this. You must do it by hand because that's the right way to do it. It's unnatural to use a mixer. But we tend to apply that logic in the bedroom. And that's something that, at least for me as a sex educator, and it just doesn't fully make sense. Why this has a completely different set criteria than the rest of your life. The amount of things that you automate and the amount of things that you do to make your life not only easier but better, to make it more enjoyable, if this is going to be something that does the same, that it's going to make it more enjoyable of an experience for both people, wasn't that ultimately what you want? No? Okay. I totally get if it's just not your thing, if you just aren't interested, and if both people aren't interested, no worries. But it's when it's immediately shut down, and especially when it's coming from a place of ego, of, this is just going to replace me. That's another thing I hear quite often. Well, I don't want it to replace me. Well, then you're not being a very good partner if you can easily be replaced by something with an on and off switch. Sorry, that's the truth. Because you want to know what a vibrator can't do? It can't give emotional connection. And what is it that creates intimacy? Emotional connection. And when you combine that with physical connection, that is where really good sex happens, when you are able to enjoy each other, enjoy the experience, have pleasure together, really lean into the pleasure, this indulgence, having a space where that is openly available, where you are able to take. But when she is having to deal with your ego and your extremely limited definition of what it means to be a man, and you're putting that on her to handle and to hold, well, then it's no wonder that she's not having the best time. because the entire time she can't just fully let go. She can't tell you what she wants because the whole time she's worried about, how you're going to react to it because it's going to make you feel like less of a man. And that's a lot to hold. Fragile masculinity is quite delicate, and you can't rock it too much. You can't do too much. It's like walking on eggshells, Whereas if she doesn't have to do that, then you can actually be a collaborative partner. If she doesn't have to, dance around your ego or your fragile masculinity, well, then you're actually able to have a conversation about, hey, what do we want this intimacy to look like between us? What do we want it to feel like, to be like? Or is there anything that we could bring in to help with that? Because if it really is coming from a place of like, well, I don't want to be replaced, well, then I would, go talk to a sex therapist about that what makes you think that you are so easily replaceable, or that somehow your spouse only wants you for your physicality. Then once you take that away, if how you're viewing a product, that somehow a vibrator is going to completely eliminate their need for you or want for you, and how then what, you have no use to them as a human being, as a partner, as someone that they love. Well, that's a little bit rough. That's something that I feel like you should work through. I feel like that's something that you could discuss with a professional, because that's interesting to me. As a sex educator, again, I don't go into that type of area, but I am endlessly curious. And I go, you go talk to your therapist about that, and then I discuss with your therapist. We collaborate on where that's coming from, why you feel that way, and then if it's really coming from a place of truth and honesty, and if it's coming from a place of goodness for yourself, for your partner, or if it's coming from a place of insecurity and a neediness for the other person, well, that is gonna make you struggle in partnership just in general, because as I love Dr. Jennifer Finlayson 5, as she says, that when you need someone, you cannot want them. You cannot choose them, because it's much more vulnerable to say, you don't need me. Therefore, do you want me? And to stand in the face of someone who can say no. Say, no, I don't want you. I don't need you, nor do I want you. It is so much more vulnerable to do that than it is to say, like, no, you need me for this. But the thing is, research has been done for decades on vibrators specifically. And for women across the board, I can pull up so much research that says that women would absolutely prefer a partner to any other type of sex, any other type of stimulation. That's not to say that they orgasm more with a partner, because that's a different statistic. They don't. So it's interesting, right? That you have all these women that they do not orgasm as much with a partner, but yet they would still choose the partner over, just self-stimulation. Well, that's because there are a lot of things about just a vibrator, something that you plug in, something that vibrates or sucks or does air pulse or whatever it may be. It cannot give you, and especially when you look at women's arousal and how responsive desire works for women and what is arousing to women, that is human connection. That it has to be human connection to truly be fulfilling to them. It needs that, and the hormones that are released for bonding, to be able to have someone there to bond with. Yeah, it's awesome if you can have a vibrator that can help you get there maybe a little bit faster, maybe in a more pleasurable way, maybe just in a more fun way, so that they can ultimately get to what they want, which is a healthy, intimate relationship, which is getting in deeper friendship with a spouse. That is what this can be used for. It can just be a tool, just like anything else that we use. It can just be something to make it more accessible. And also, speaking of access, let's just touch on for a second people with disabilities, which is a large majority. There are so many people in this world with disabilities, and, if we're talking invisible disabilities, like autoimmune diseases, or just something that people cannot see, joint problems. I mean, I have an invisible disability. I have nerve damage in both of my legs. I only have 10% feeling in my legs from a spinal tumor. So, yeah, when it comes to the things that I need just in my life to make my life easier and better, I'm not walking around with some chip on my shoulder of like virtue of like, no, I must be able to do something the way that everyone else does it, though, because it's more natural. Okay, well, my body quite literally cannot sit like a normal person anymore. Like, it is not capable of that. I have to have back pillows. I need to be able to stand. I have all of these things that I need. And so therefore I have to bring things with me. I have to make this an accessible space for me. And vibrators and different products in general, like lube, that can make things so much more accessible to you. It can allow you to access more pleasure because you're not focusing the whole time on the lack of lubrication that's causing friction, that's causing pain. Or just the amount of times that you have to like reapply the water-based lube and so it like takes you out of it. So instead you switch to like a silicone or an oil-based lube or a hybrid, and all of a sudden that makes it so you can connect better. But for someone that's like, no, we shouldn't use lube, our body should be able to produce enough. Okay, speak for yourself, because studies show that, yeah, for some, about, 25 to 40%, depending on the study, of women have plenty of lubrication. Well, what about the other percentage? What about the other, 60 to 80% that don't have enough? Are you telling them that they're wrong? That this is something bad? That their body's broken? That's not helpful messaging to send them, okay? They're already having a tough time. Why you gotta make it worse? Rather than, hey, there's this thing that can help you. In the same way that we use it for tons of other things. We are constantly doing that in life, where you're looking for ways to feel better and to do things more easily and to find things that are more customized for your body and how it functions, or how maybe it doesn't function, so it can help you with that activity, whatever it may be. And yet, when we get to the bedroom, all of a sudden, it's, nope, this is only you and I and our bodies, and only penetration. Excuse you? What? Why did we just take everything that we've learned as human beings and evolve to in 2026 and just chuck it out the window because some man once upon a time said that, this is the only way in which you should have sex, and this is the only righteous way to do it, and you shouldn't need or want anything else? Okay, well, in 2013, we learned through study that women actually have completely different arousal patterns. 2013, okay? This is recent. This is not that long ago that it was hey, maybe we've had it wrong this whole time. Maybe men and women are different. Maybe the way that they respond to desire and how their blood flow works is different. I mean, the nerves of the clitoris, people, were not even completely 3D mapped out until this year. April of this year, 2026. This is new information. So to think that no, this is just the way this is how it's meant to be. Okay, I just have a hard time with that, because the more that we learn, then the better informed we are, and then therefore our behavior should change, because we now have more information to go off of, and we are able to access more and know about our bodies, and so then we can work with them better. Oh, okay, sorry. I'm getting on such a soapbox right now. I'm completely fine. Do what you want. If you don't want it, no worries. But when it's coming from this place of, I don't want it because it's gonna, mess with my male ego. Okay, well, that's a different issue then. And I think that that's worth talking about, and that's worth working through as a couple. because that's going to cause a lot of resentment in your marriage. Let me just tell you. I see where this road goes. I've seen it many times. I've seen many a couple walk it, and walk it for a very long time, and then eventually they do end up in my office. So I'd rather you not walk down that path, because it does unfortunately have a lot of resentment, heartache, just a lot of tension there, and ultimately not a whole lot of sex. Which, if that's what you're going for, if that's the whole point, is like, no, it needs to be, the right type of sex. Well, I think you should expand your definition of right, because if it is a pleasurable experience for both partners, that's what we should be going after. We should be having it be something that both people desire, that both people want, that both people are choosing, freely choosing, and they are choosing you. They're wanting to do this with you and a vibrator. They want you to hold it, or they want you to be present while it's there. But they want you there. That's the part that matters. And this tool is just something that can help. It can help with blood flow, it can help with stimulation, and you can be the driver there, buddy. Or in the case of a woman, this can be something that can be quite pleasurable. Or even if you're using it on him, there's lots of different devices. This can make things way easier. Your hand's not going to cramp, your jaw's not going to hurt. Well, by the way, if your jaw's hurting, your technique is completely wrong. But that's besides the point. There's things that can make things more fun, add a little bit more variety, more novelty, which is something that we seek after when it comes to arousal and eroticism, is we love novelty. So to this person who asked this question about introducing it to your husband, you know your husband better than I do, so how the best way to do that, but I would hope that you'd be able to just openly have the conversation of like, hey, I've been thinking I really want to explore more with you, and I would like to go to this new place with you sexually, and do you want to come with me? Like, are you willing to do this? Are you willing to enter into this space and see what it could be? And you want to know where we're going to start? We're going to start by going online to Nikki's Patreon, and let's learn about vibrators for a couple hours on YouTube. Speaking of that video, by the way, I just released a discount code. So online, it's $20 to buy it, my 2-hour video that literally breaks down everything that you need to know about vibrators. So, and also on my, not my Patreon, my link in my Instagram bio, my link tree, thank you, finally got there, my link tree, the shop tabs. So when you first open up my link tree, it'll be on just my regular, information. And then there's a little toggle and it says shop. And if you do that, then I believe my first category is first time vibrators. And I have all my recommendations. Do I have a video? I might have a video out. I'll have to look at my stuff. Sorry, I've produced a lot of things about first time vibrators specifically that I recommend. But if you watch the video and you're like, okay, yes, I want to get started, and then you did just want to book a 20-minute consult, I can tell you the differences between all of the beginner vibrators that I recommend in the shop. But you can also just get them right there and have the suggestions immediately. But I do have a discount code. It is VIBES10, VIBES 10 for $10 off. So right now on Patreon, it is $20 to purchase the video about vibrators, but add that discount and it's $10. I think iOS adds an extra $4 to $5 or something, because when I look at the price on there, even though I set it for $20, it says 25 or 29 or something. But that's because it charges extra on iOS rather than if you're purchasing it on a computer. So there you go. Fun tip for you. But yeah, you can go purchase that, and I will tell you how they work, how they market versus the truth. If it says hands-free couples toys, you need to know about the patent that WeVibe has on their hinge and why they're not all hands-free couple toys, even though they market that way. All of that information is there for you. All right, I think that answered that. So let's move on. All right, this next one. My husband has only ever given me oral once, and he's been pretty unwilling to try again. It didn't last long, and neither of us really knew what he should be doing. And he doesn't really seem willing to try again and explore that, but I really want it. For context, I am a lot more adventurous in the bedroom. He is more vanilla and doesn't love to try new things. How can we come to an agreement on this? Ooh, great question. Okay. Well, I'm going to be honest, a lot of this you're going to need to see a sex therapist for. When it comes to the communication part of like, how do we come to an agreement on this? Because it really depends on your dynamics as a couple. Because if anytime you're entering a conversation like this, where you're saying, I really want oral, and then he is, because you say here, he's pretty unwilling to try again, I would be interested to know, like, how unwilling are we talking? Like, just disinterested or, like, shutting you down? Saying, like, no, I'm not doing that. And again, why? Why? Just coming to every conversation with this curiosity of, like, where is that coming from? I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just here to understand your stance and, like, where that conclusion is coming from so that I can better understand your answer. Because that one in particular, it's usually the other way around, where women aren't comfortable with having oral done on them and their spouse is really wanting, and that has a lot more to do with like a disgust level that women tend to have about their own genitals. But this one is an interesting one with him being unwilling, and I would be interested to know, is it coming from a place of insecurity? Where, yeah, he feels like he doesn't have very good technique, like he doesn't know what he's doing, and therefore he doesn't want to try because he's just gonna feel like he isn't sure the whole time, and he likes to have more sexual confidence in the bedroom, and this is something that doesn't bring him sexual confidence. Okay, well, then that's an easy fix. We can absolutely go over technique, 100%. There are quite a few different resources, and I'm going to be creating videos soon, but I do those ones right now. It's just private appointments, and I have my flower vulva and describing, so it's not explicit as far as like, it's not any pornographic material or images, but we can absolutely talk through technique and what to do. And yeah, so if it's coming from a place of like insecurity because of performance, then yeah, that can be something I can help with 100%. If it's coming from a place of not understanding why that would be appealing to you, well, that's also something that I could help with, helping understand why oral is so pleasurable for a lot of women. Because when you have a better understanding of the genitals in general and of the vulva, then yeah, it starts to make a ton more sense, where it's like, oh, I could see why that would be pleasurable as an activity, in the same way that, you know, why is a hand job pleasurable? Well, I could tell you exactly why. I could tell you about the tissue and the different parts of the penis and why this type of stimulation is very appealing and pleasurable to a lot of men, and what it's doing and why vaginal intercourse is the most reliable for orgasm. I could tell you why that is when you understand how a penis is made, in the same way that when you understand how a vulva is made and what it's made out of and how the blood works, then yeah, it totally makes sense why this would be a pleasurable activity. If it's coming from a place where sex, the definition of it is really only within the confines of coitus, or of course the exceptions always are handjob and blowjob. You know, it's either penetrative or something else that's pleasing to the man. But very often it doesn't equate the other direction, where it's like, oh, well, what about like fingering for her? No, that's not the same. That doesn't count as sex. But yeah, that's a different conversation. So yeah, if it's coming from a place of not wanting to expand that definition and what intimacy can look like between the two of you, that would lean a little bit more to a sex therapist to kind of start to get into that. If it's a communication issue between the two of you, that you just are like unable to have that conversation because you always feel shut down by that, or it's just he doesn't know how to vocalize what he's feeling or thinking around this topic, like he can't explain to you why, then that would definitely, I would turn to a sex therapist for that. But if it's just a preference, if it is purely just like, I'm just not into that, I'm so sorry, well then, hey, guess what? There's vibrators that do air pulls. And but by no means is it going to replace oral. I mean, there is yet to be something automated that has the exact sensation and stimulation as oral. But there's stuff that's pretty dang close. There's stuff that's really, really pleasurable, that has the sucking or the biting sensation, if you like that, or there's a ton of different products. So if he's, if he doesn't want to do it with his own mouth, but he's like, but by all means, let's get something that can do that, because I just don't want to. I just don't like it. For whatever reason, I have had before where it was more of like a grossed out type of thing with the amount of lubrication that she had. Well, a simple dental dam, which is, it's a product that, it's like a stretchy silicone. It's very thin and it stretches over the vulva. It's helpful to prevent like STIs. But anyways, you can just stretch that over. Think of it as like a high quality saran wrap, that if you've never heard of a dental dam, of it going over. So then when you start licking and you start moving your tongue and your mouth and things, it still moves with you, but you're not making direct contact with the vulva or with the clitoris. So if it's coming from a place of like, I'm so sorry, but I'm like low-key kind of grossed out by this, that's okay. There's flavored lube, there's dental dams, there's other things there that we can make adaptable if that's really the only barrier. But if it's just a preference, if it's like, I just am not into this, I don't really have any, deep-seated reason of why, and I'm open to it, I just don't like it, well then you could turn the conversation to maybe getting something that can create the sensation that you like from oral, because this is where collaboration comes in. We want to be collaborative of, okay, what is it that you like about this as the receiver? Is there something that maybe we could get that can produce that for you without it having to come directly from your partner? And that's where we can start to tag team. And these tools can really be partners in pleasure. They can really be teammates. I have my Mansplain series where I talk about vibrators as football players and like teammates that, you're the quarterback. You are the one that was chosen to lead the team, brother. You are there. But why are you not using everybody at your disposal, meaning like all of these different tools, all of these different things to make you shine as the quarterback? Like, you are the star player. That's never in question. But if you think that this is a one-person show, and it's way less fun that way, because a lot of times you're not getting to the end zone by yourself. You're getting taken down by a lot of, other things, distractions, and the lack of stimulation that she's feeling, so she's not enjoying herself. You're not making it to the end zone, buddy. So if this can help you be the star player, then why not take it? Take the glory and buy the vibrator. So hopefully that helps with that question. I would need a little bit more to go off of with the oral one, specifically about his unwillingness to try, where that's coming from. And as I discussed, depending on which category he's in, it would either be someone like me that could help the best, or it would be a sex therapist that you might want to start with the communication side. All right, I'm going to read this next one because we're just on theme. We're talking about vibrators today. I've decided, 48 minutes in, I'm like, let's just stick with one topic. Okay, this one says, I've been with my partner for over 20 years. He is so good to me, a great provider and giving, but my brain has a hard time turning on the sexy time switch. He's giving and patient in bed as well. Also, I'm not sure how to bring in toys he's comfortable with it. I just feel dumb and awkward, like, here's Greg to finish up the job. I totally get that. Hopefully this episode honestly helped with reframing who, Greg being the vibrator, that you're not being replaced. It's not that you didn't do a good enough job. It's that I would like to eat the lemon meringue pie as well. So how about we get an electric mixer in here so we can both enjoy, and we can help create those peaks. But for this one, as far as the hard time turning on the sexy time switch, well, I can tell you right now, the reason that that's probably difficult for you is because you're thinking of it as a switch. Whereas for women, it's not so much a switch. It is much more of, what's a good comparison? A lot of people like to do the microwave versus oven. There's some issues I have with that particular one. We'll go with it for now because it's the first one that came to mind. But I'm going to think on that, and I'm going to think of another better analogy to talk about the difference between spontaneous desire and responsive desire. But put shortly, men, they have typically, this is typical, what's called spontaneous desire. And this is where blood flow goes to the penis and then can create arousal or desire in the mind, or vice versa. You have desire in the mind, and then it creates the physical arousal to match it. And this is called concordance, where they are matching at the same time, where there is an erection and there is desire happening, like pretty much in sync. And it's happening pretty quickly because the blood flow to the penis takes, on average, 10 to 15 seconds. So it can happen pretty quick, whereas for women, 22 to 30 minutes on average. Because we're not just filling up one place, we are filling up our entire abdomen with blood. And, I go more into depth on this on my video of, the science of the female orgasm. We have a lot more to lose and a lot more to risk when it comes to any sort of sexual penetration or just sexual interaction in general, for disease, for pregnancy, biologically. Our bodies are just at greater risk. So for a long time, desire and arousal was only ever studied through the view of men and this lens of spontaneous desire. And so then it became just this overarching fact that women are low desire partners and men are high desire partners, because we were measuring it based on spontaneous desire. But in 2013, when they said, hey, maybe women work a little differently, maybe they have a lot more organs that we need to get blood to than just one place, the penis. Maybe we have an entire uterus and an entire vagina and your urethra and all of these other places, and your clitoris, that's right. The 18 different structures of the clitoris and the 2 erectile bulbs of the clitoris that you can think of as 2 shafts of the clitoris that need to be engorged with blood. Yet there's a lot of places that this blood is glowing to, and there also is a lot more risk, so we need more trust to be built and more things for her to respond to. And then they started studying what's called responsive desire rather than spontaneous desire. So meaning there's something for her to interact with, where simple stupid examples would be in the morning having a really sweet lingering kiss before going to work. And then she's thinking about that. Throughout the day. Oh wow, that was actually really nice this morning. Getting maybe a text of, I'm thinking of you, or maybe it's a little something spicier. Maybe it's a little dirty talk over text. So it's something to kind of spice things up and be exciting throughout the day of, oh, okay. And maybe it is when your spouse comes home from work or you come home from work, having a long hug, holding each other, kissing for over 9 seconds. There's a lot of study and research that's been done about longer kisses and what that does to the brain and for blood flow. So having these prolonged kisses and creating this response to stimuli and having sweet things said or flowers brought home or just kindness, and you just feel the love and care of your partner, then that is what can help grow this desire. It can help send the signal for blood flow, and that takes longer, right? That's going to take more effort to do that because that's how our bodies work. And then you're good to go. And when they started doing research on comparing spontaneous desire to responsive desire, and they started measuring women's desire not based on spontaneity, but rather on response and whether or not their partner had done things or had shown affection, or there was something for her to look forward to with that person, rather than it just being like all of a sudden you're sitting down on the couch watching TV and like now their hands are on you. Like that's going from like 0 to 100 for her really quickly, because maybe for you, you're warmed up there, buddy. This is where the microwave thing comes in, where it's like, yeah, you can just like turn on a microwave and like boom, it's instantly hot, and like it doesn't take a long time to cook. It just couple minutes, 3 to 5 minutes on average for first orgasm for a man. Whereas for her, that's gonna be more of a crock pot. You're gonna have to set that in advance. You're gonna need to like think that through. You're gonna need to thaw out the chicken. You're gonna need to, like, when you're thinking of doing a crock pot meal, right? Like there's multiple steps that you gotta think about. It's not just turning the crock pot on. It's also, prepping the food that's going in the crock pot. But the thing is, once it's in there and once it's cooking and the crock pot is up to the temperature that you're wanting it at, it can maintain that for much, much, much longer than men, which is why a lot of times they'll do that microwave versus crock pot analogy. Now, there are some faults to that is oversimplifying, absolutely. But for the sake of this, I think it gets the point across. Where when you're saying like your brain has a hard time switching to the sexy time or that sexy time switch, well, it's because you're thinking of it as a switch, and it is not a switch for you. It's not. It is going to be much more gradual, and you need moments throughout your day. If you're wanting to have something, you need something to look forward to, because the studies have shown when they measure this responsive desire, women not only match men in their level of desire, but in some cases and in some studies, it shows that it is actually higher. So this entire idea that women just like have low libido, well, the type of sex drive that we've been discussing for so many decades has only been one type, and it's been men's sex drives, which is automatically going to look higher on paper when you consider testosterone and when you consider blood flow to the penis as your criteria for arousal and for desire, and the concordance that those have, that those match at the same time. But for women, you typically need desire to be worked on in order to send arousal, or vice versa. Maybe you can have arousal in your genitals, but you need to take some time to really get there mentally. And in my video, The Science of the Female Orgasm, we go through the nerves, the muscles, the thoughts and the parts of the brain that are active during arousal, the prefrontal cortex, how there's a part that shuts off, and that's the part that's in charge of rational thinking. So if you're the type of person that's like, I just can't be in the moment, like I'm thinking about, the kids and carpool pickup tomorrow and like grocery store stuff, like I can't focus. Well, no wonder you're not having an enjoyable time, because the part of your brain that's in charge of those types of thoughts actually shuts off during orgasm, like turns off. So clearly, if you're thinking about those things, it's on. And there are things that we can do to help shut it off by using other parts of our brain and upping our fantasy and the pleasure that we're feeling to help us be more present. All of those things are going to create a better experience, and it's going to make it easier for you to have that sexy time, as was put in this little question. But
yes, if you're thinking of it as a switch, that, oh man, it's just hard for me to like switch from one thing to another. Well, yeah, because your body, your brain, how women's just functioning works is not meant to go from like one thing to the next like that. To be a caretaker for children all day and then all of a sudden be someone that's like just ready for sex. Like, those are two different gears. And we need to like ease in to the next one. You can't just switch it really fast. If I knew cars better, I'm going to need to do some research on whether or not that would be a good analogy, doing like an automated car versus a manual. Because I know, you gotta like ease on the clutch, you gotta like feel it, you have to, but I don't know if that would be a good comparison. I'm gonna find something, don't you worry, give me a couple weeks. I'm gonna find something that is a better analogy than the microwave and the crock pot for arousal. But I hope this helps. And, hey, there's nothing wrong with bringing in a little something to, again, help with the blood flow, help with the connection, make things go a little faster. And that can help you get in the mood faster. Because blood flow does significantly matter. But also, if you're looking forward to trying something, to getting a vibrator that you're like, oh, that one looks so fun, and I'm so excited to try out all these different settings and see how it works, and doing that with your partner and having them in on that experience and being a co-creator with you in that, well, then that can absolutely help your desire. That can make you want this, and it can make it easier to switch from whatever it was, whether it was being a mom or being just a woman in the world that day, and turning into someone that is a partner, that is a woman with wants and desires, and a woman who is capable of beautiful, incredible connection with a partner that she's chosen. A vibrator can help with that. But there's also a lot of other things that you can do that can help with that as well. So it's not just one thing. That's the point that I'm trying to make, is it's not just one. It's not just, yes, this is going to solve your problems, because no, it's a helper. It's going to help. It's not going to make the meringue for you. It's not going to make anything. It's just going to help in the process of what you are making, because you are creators together, co-creators. So this can just be something that helps, but by no means is it replacing anything or any narrative like that. Okay, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for submitting your questions. And, as always, submit them. Check out my Patreon, all the links in my bio, and go check out my video on vibrators, which is on sale if you use the code VIBES, VIBES 10. All right, see you next week.